Hello dear students, welcome to science class. Today we are going to learn about 6th chapter, that is combustion and flame. Now let us understand the meaning of the word combustion. The chemical process in which a substance reacts with oxygen to produce heat is called combustion. So combustion is a chemical process, and this chemical process you have already learned in the lesson metals and non-metals. We learned how metals and non-metals were reacting with oxygen. In the same way, even combustion means the reaction of a substance with oxygen. But during combustion, heat is produced. Not only heat, sometimes light and flame is also produced. So, the substance which undergoes combustion is called a combustible substance. It is also called a fuel. So, the substance which undergo combustion, which undergo the chemical reaction with oxygen, that substance is called a fuel. Sometimes light is also produced during combustion, either as a flame or as a glow. So once again I would like to tell that combustion is a chemical reaction in which some substance react with oxygen and give heat. In the same way, we learned in the metals and non-metals lesson that during the burning of magnesium ribbon, we saw that there was a bright light with flame, and that is also a combustion reaction. At the same way, we have seen iron. It also underwent combustion, but there was no the heat generation, or we couldn't see it in the form of heat and a flame, but it was reacting with oxygen. It is also a chemical reaction with oxygen. And also I would also like to tell that in our body, food is also broken down by this reaction with oxygen, and heat is produced. Yes, students, in our body also the food is reacting with oxygen and heat is produced in this reaction. So we can say that our food is a fuel. So the food is the fuel of our body. So this reaction in our body is performed to get energy. Only then it is taking place in our body cell and in the mitochondria, the organelle called mitochondria. That's why mitochondria is called the powerhouse of the cell, because in that organelle we can see that the food is reacted with oxygen and energy is produced in this reaction. So this is also a combustion. So understand, students, but in this chapter we are purely learning about some fuels. For example, we know water fuels, the substance which undergo combustion, and we will study the various types of combustion in these lessons. So I hope you have understood this, what is combustion, the reaction of substance with oxygen. The substance which undergo combustion is called a fuel, a flame or not. Some substance burn with a flame whereas some do not. Example, candle burns with a flame whereas coal does not. The substance which vaporize during burning gives flame. Okay, the combustible substance or the fuel which vaporize during burning gives flame. For example, kerosene oil and molten wax rise through the wick and are vaporized during burning and form flames. So we have seen the kerosene lamp earlier, and also the candle. Okay, what happens? They are vaporizing through the wick. Wick means you can see the thread is in it, or wick means to burn a lamp we use a wick, cotton wick. And because the oil, for example, you use the lamp during Deepavali and all, the oil you use in that lamp or kerosene lamp or the candle, okay, this fuel will vaporize and pass through this wick, and that is why we can see the flame, because it is vaporized in this way. Hence we can see the flame. Charcoal, on the other hand, does not vaporize and so do not produce a flame. and both is important for us for our need, especially for cooking. Even the fuel which produces flame is used for cooking, like your LPG, and also this charcoal, coal, and also they are used for cooking, as for example wood also. Okay, and it is used for to prepare barbecue and all, and both is important for us. Next is combustible substance. We know what is combustible substance. The substance that produce heat is called, or the substance which undergo combustion is called combustible substance. And examples are, say, wood, charcoal, coal, kerosene, petrol, diesel, liquefied petroleum gas, that is LPG, compressed natural gas, that is CNG. These are all combustible substances. And CNG is a very non-polluting fuel. Nowadays it is used in vehicles also. And why I have given introduced this slide, because in this slide we are going to learn what are combustible substance and what are non-combustible substance. See here, the substance which burn in air to produce heat and light, they are called combustible substance. The substance which do not burn in air, they are non-combustible substance, that is stone and glass. So these are the two differences between these two substances. Now we are going to learn, we are going to know whether air is necessary for burning. So for burning, not only fuel, we learned that fuel is necessary for burning, and also I also told that even oxygen is necessary for burning. Oxygen is the air that helps in burning, whereas carbon dioxide will not help in burning. So in this activity we are going to see whether air is necessary for burning, especially the air refers to oxygen. See here, we are having three figures here, figure A, B and C. What is happening in this setup we will see. Fix a lighted candle on a table. So a lighted candle is there on the table. Put a glass chimney over the table. So this is the glass chimney, and this chimney is having two open ends at the bottom, and at the top it is open. And rest it on a few wooden blocks. So it is rested on the wooden block. Here you can see the wooden block. And it is rested in such a way that there is a gap below. Okay, so it is rested on a wooden block in such a way so that the air can enter the chimney. Observe what happens to the flame. Now remove the blocks and let the chimney rest on the table. Again observe the flame. So first, this is a setup with a chimney, lighted candle and two blocks. So air is entering from the bottom and also from the top. In the second setup, we can see that the block is removed, the chimney is rested on the table, and what is happening here we will see. And in the third setup, we can see that chimney is resting on the table, and also we have introduced a glass plate over the chimney. So what is the observation? The observation is the candle burns freely in figure A because air enters the chimney from below also. In the candle B, the candle flame flickers and produce smoke. See, in this candle B, I cannot introduce a smoke here. That's why you can see here. It is what is happening in this figure is, because the air is not entering from the below. There is only the air from the top. So what happens? There is a difficulty in burning. So what is the difficulty is the flame will flicker. It starts to shake, and also it starts to produce smoke. But what happens in the candle B is the candle does not burn in C because air is not available at all. From the bottom and also from the top there is no air available. This shows that, and that is why the candle does not burn. So this shows that air is necessary for burning. So this activity tells that air is necessary for burning, especially oxygen. Next is ignition temperature. So dear students, this topic, please understand it clearly. What is ignition temperature? Ignition temperature means we came to know that we use fuel. Okay, so two things we came to know that for burning, for combustion, two things is already learned. What is that? Fuel, that is combustible substance we need, and also we need air, that is oxygen. Now the third thing what we need is ignition temperature. Okay, what is that ignition temperature? Ignition temperature means the heat. Okay, the heat, the minimum heat required for the fuel to burn. For example, a candle is there, oxygen is there. Does the candle burn if only oxygen is there? No. Candle is a fuel and oxygen is there. The two things already are there. Does it burn? No. Okay. But if you heat the candle, if you bring a flame or heat the candle, it starts to burn. So, understand that three things are necessary for combustion or burning. First is fuel, the next thing is oxygen, and the third thing is heat. And that heat is called ignition temperature. What we have to do is we have to bring the fuel to that temperature. We have to increase the temperature of the fuel. To what temperature we have to increase? That is called ignition temperature. The minimum temperature at which a substance catches fire and burns is called ignition temperature. Okay, so we have to raise the temperature of the fuel to such a way that it catches fire and burns, and that temperature is called ignition temperature. So if see, a substance will not catch fire and burn if its temperature is lower than the ignition temperature. It will not catch fire if the temperature is below the ignition temperature. For example, please understand this. A matchbox. Okay, we are taking a matchstick out of this matchbox and we are rubbing it along the sides of the matchbox. There is a area given to strike the matchstick to produce fire in a matchbox. So we are rubbing the matchstick and the matchbox. So we are striking it. Why do we strike it? Do you know? We are striking the matchstick with the matchbox because to increase the temperature. So what, when we strike it, we are increasing a friction. So friction will produce heat. Friction produce heat, and when that heat is produced, the chemical, that is the phosphorus which is there in the matchstick, will start burning. That is how the matchstick will catch fire. Okay, so understand it very carefully. In the matchstick, there is a chemical called phosphorus, and the ignition temperature or the heat required for the phosphorus to burn is so less that only with a two or three strike, 2 or 3 friction heat, it will start burning. Okay, understand this example. And also, if you want to burn a wood, so if you want to burn a wood, can you see here, can you place a matchstick to the wood to burn? No. If you bring a lighted matchstick near to the wood will not burn. What you have to do? We have to place some dry grass or paper, or you have to put some kerosene. Okay, first we have to put the matchstick fire. Okay, we have to put the lighted matchstick, and what will happen? First the kerosene will start burning, then the grass will start burning, paper will start burning, and later on as the wood will start burning. Give the wood needs some temperature to burn. It requires some more ignition temperature. That is why we have to give that ignition temperature to the wood to burn, and only the wood will burn. Whereas the ignition temperature of the dry grass is so less. Okay, it is so less that it will starts to burn. For example, forest fire. Some of the forest fire, what will happen? Begin the dry grasses on the forest floor during the summer season. Sometimes what will happen? A light friction or something, a little flame or little ignition, because of the heat from the sun. Sometimes the dry grass will starts to burn because the ignition temperature is very less. As I told in matchstick also, the phosphorus, only 35 degrees centigrade it is phosphorus. Phosphorus is a non-metal. When we learned about metals and non-metals, I already told there are some phosphorus, some non-metal like phosphorus, especially white phosphorus. If you open it in the keep it open in the atmosphere only, it will start to burn. Okay, that is why it is stored in water. We learned it. So sometimes in the graveyard, in the phosphorus is present in our bones. Sometimes in the graveyard, we can see automatically the phosphorus will catch fire. It is not because of any devil and all. It is because of the reaction with the white phosphorus. So understand that fuel will be having certain ignition temperature. For some fuel, the ignition temperature is too much. For some fuel, the ignition temperature is very less. So, see here, the substance will not catch fire and burn if the temperature is lower than the ignition temperature. Fuel will not catch fire if the temperature is below ignition temperature. Different substances have different ignition temperature. Example, the ignition temperature of kerosene is less than the ignition temperature of wood. So that is why first we are burning a kerosene. We will put kerosene onto the wood. We will burn the kerosene. Then the heat of the fire of kerosene produced by the kerosene will heat the wood, and then the wood will start burning. Substances which have very low ignition temperature and can easily catch fire with the flame are called inflammable substance. So we have seen some inflammable substance like petrol, alcohol, LPG, CNG. So they are all inflammable substance. Very little heat they will start to burn. That's why the cylinders or the tankers which are carrying these inflammable substance will be having some danger sign. When you go on the highways and all, we can see that the truck that carries all these inflammable substance will be having a danger sign, highly inflammable. And also nowadays we are using alcohol as hand sanitizer. That is also very dangerous. So we should not bring that hand sanitizer near to the fire and all, because it will catch fire immediately, because these fuels is having very low ignition temperature. A little heat is enough for that. And see here, ignition temperature of different materials. See the ignition temperature of white phosphorus. It is 35 degrees Celsius. 35 degrees Celsius means summer, especially in the afternoon and all, we will get this. The temperature will go beyond 40 also in the afternoon and all during a summer days. And see the ignition temperature of white phosphorus. It is 35. Very easily it will catch fire if it is kept open. And petrol is 246 degrees Celsius. That is why we have the petrol. We have to provide it some heat, then only it will start to burn. So all this is the ignition temperature of this a piece of paper. See the ignition temperature. See the coal ignition temperature, it is more compared to other. So understood what is ignition temperature? The minimum temperature at which a substance will catch fire is called ignition temperature. Every substance will be having its ignition temperature. If you want to burn it, we have to increase this. For example, I want to burn a coal. So I have to apply 454 degrees Celsius heat. Then only the coal will burn. If I want to burn a paper, I have to give this much of temperature, 233 temperature. Okay, then only the paper will burn. So the conditions necessary for combustion is fuel, air, supply oxygen, and heat. What is the heat? To raise the temperature beyond the ignition temperature. We have to raise the temperature beyond the ignition temperature. These three things are necessary for combustion. Fuel is necessary, air with oxygen supply, and heat. Heat refers to the temperature beyond the ignition temperature. The substance will not burn without one or more of these conditions. If there is no fuel, no combustion. If there is no air, no combustion. If there is no ignition temperature, no combustion. So these are the conditions necessary for combustion. So till here I would like to send the video. So hope you all listening it to it. Thank you.